Scientific Revolution and the Period of Enlightenment. When does the Scientific Revolution and the Period of Enlightenment starts? The discoveries and writings of the Age of Revolution ignited the fuse of knowledge that exploded in a scientific revolution so complete and far-reaching than the years from 1500 to 1830, which are often called the beginning of the modern age. Every time you have your temperature taken with a mercury thermometer, receive medication through a fine needle's high range, let a doctor listen to your heartbeat through a stethoscope, or have your tooth drilled by a dentist, you are seeing instruments invented during the age of revolution. When you study a cell through a microscope or a star through a telescope, you are using equipment developed to fill the needs of the 16th to 17th century scientists for precise, accurate scientific instruments. Even multiplication symbol X was proposed during this age of scientific revolution. The revolution in 1600s and 1700s, revolution bounced back and forth across the Atlantic. The pattern started with the arrival of the first English colonists in North America. They carried with them ideas of born English revolution. They believed that governments existed to protect the rights and freedom of citizens. Men are born and remain free and equal in rights. These are based on the American Declaration of Independence principles repeated by the French revolutionaries. The new scientific ideas, a scientific revolution. Anthony van Leeuwenhoek, 1600s, a Dutchman, Anthony van Leeuwenhoek, made a powerful microscope lenses with a magnification of 250 times. His remarkable find was tiny microorganism. He was the first person to see a bacteria. His technology and scientific study in general captured the imagination of many European people in the 1600s. A scientific revolution would lead to a new era in Western thought. 1600. Gilbert explains electricity and magnetism. He was the first scientist to really investigate both magnets and electricity. He was an English physicist and doctor to England's Queen Elizabeth I. Gilbert's interest in magnetism started when he became fascinated with the compass. Gilbert is often called the father of electricity and magnetism. His work gave us the basic understanding of electricity and magnetism that other scientists have built on. Finding new ways to harness these forces today may depend on electricity and magnets in many areas of our lives. In 1543, a Polish astronomer Copernicus shows Earth orbits the Sun. He based his book on years of observing the night sky and felt his ideas explain the orbits better than any other theory. In 1616, leaders in the Catholic Church banned his book for more than 200 years because they felt it didn't follow the Bible's teaching. Copernicus began a scientific revolution because his work inspired further scientific exploration rather than a continuation of long-held beliefs. He gave scientists and others the courage to state their findings, even if they were different from what was accepted. New theories about the universe aside from the Copernicus theory. In the late 1500s, The Danish astronomer Tycho Brahe set up an observatory to study heavenly bodies and accumulated much data on planetary movements. After Brahe's death, the German astronomer and mathematician Johannes Kepler used Brahe's data with the goal of providing mathematical proof for, for Copernicus' hypothesis. Using mathematical formulas, Kepler did show that the planets revolve around the sun. Kepler also proved that the planets move in oval paths called ellipses, not in circles as Copernicus had believed. Challenging the Church. Kepler challenged the teaching of many academic and religious leaders. Because Kepler was a Protestant, however, he did not have to fear the Catholic Church. His Catholic contemporary, the Italian mathematician Galileo Galilei, did face considerable opposition from church leaders. In 1609, Galileo built his own telescope and observed the night skies. His discovery of moons circling the planet convinced him that the Copernican theory about the Earth revolving around the Sun was correct. Galileo was charged with heresy in Rome and allowed to serve his sentence at home. He continued his work after trial and experimented with motion of objects on Earth. He helped establish the universal law of physics, which specifies that an object at rest or in straight line motion unless acted upon by an external force. New ways of thinking. As European scientists revolutionized the world of astronomy, philosophers such as Francis Bacon and René Descartes incorporated scientific thought into philosophy. To Bacon, the truth resulted only from a thorough investigation of evidence. He helped develop what is known today as the scientific method. The scientific method is made up of several steps, which the scientist begins with a careful observation of facts or things. Then the scientist tries to find the hypothesis to explain the observations. By experimenting, the scientist tries to find a hypothesis under all possible conditions and every possible way to see whether it is true. Finally, it careful and repeated experiments show that hypothesis thus prove true and under all conditions. It is considered a scientific law. In other words, a scientific truth is not assumed, it is deducted from observation and a series of thorough experiments. Like Bacon, French philosopher and mathematician René Descartes believed that truth must be reached through reason. He believed he found one unshakable, self-evident truth in the statement, "I think, therefore I am." In 1642, after Bacon and Descartes had transformed European thinking, one of the most influential figures in modern science was born in England, named Isaac Newton. He published the Principia Mathematica, in which he outlined the law of universal gravitation, one of the most remarkable of all scientific discoveries. It explained that the universe is held together by force of gravity. Newton, also known as man of ideas, Newton was a genius who established many laws of physics and a new branch of math called calculus. He discovers the science of light, discovers the reflecting telescope, discovers that white light is made up of all colors of the spectrum. During the Age of Revolution, scientists studied the natural world as astronomy, philosophy, and mathematics advanced at an incredible pace. So did the sciences of anatomy and chemistry. Because Roman law forbade the dissection of human anatomy corpses, Galen formulated his theories of human anatomy by dissecting dogs and apes. They began to investigate the human body. French lawmakers in 1500s also considered dissecting human bodies illegal. This limitation, however, did not stop a young medical student from making great advances in anatomy. Self-assured and outspoken, Andreas Vesalius made it clear to his professors that because of Galen's views were based on dissected apes and dogs, his beliefs about human anatomy could not be accepted as truth. By dissecting human bodies, Vesal- Vesalius made groundbreaking discoveries in anatomy. In 1543, he published his work in on the structure of the human body. In Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 1752, an American scientist and inventor, Benjamin Franklin, performed an experiment to prove his theory that lightning is electricity. Franklin flew a homemade kite with a wire attached to it. A bolt of lightning struck the wire and traveled down the wet kite string to a key fastened at the end, where it caused an electric spark. Franklin reported the result in a pamphlet, Experiments and Observation on Electricity. During the time of Age of Revolution, scientists also experiments with chemistry. European scientists working in the field of chemistry joined their peers in astronomy, mathematics, and medicine in challenging traditional ideas. By careful scientific experimentation, Robert Boyle was primarily responsible for taking chemistry from its mystical and unscientific origins and establishing it as pure science. When Boyle was born into an Irish noble family in 1627, the chemistry of the day was alchemy. People who practiced alchemy called alchemists. The impact of science during the scientific revolution. As scientists made revolutionary discoveries about people, nature, and the universe, popular interest in science spread throughout Europe. Using new technologies such as microscopes, scientists and amateurs alike looked with wonder at world inside a drop of pond water. Others tinkered and prodded in their home laboratories studying gases and other substances. At social gatherings across Europe, people discussed the latest findings with lively interest. Monarchs helped the new sciences by supporting scientific academies, observation, and museums. In England, Charles II established the Royal Society of London in 1622. The group included Isaac Newton and Robert Boyle among its members. In 1666, Louis XIV of France supported the founding of French Academy of Science. These societies provided financial support to scientists and published scientific books and journals. Voltaire challenging ideas. A key figure of the Enlightenment was the French writer, historian, and philosopher Voltaire. He championed ideas seen as very dangerous at the time, such as freedom of religion, freedom of expression, and the separation of church and state. During the Age of Enlightenment, a scientific approach was introduced. The Swedish botanist Carl Linnaeus developed a universal system for describing plants and animals, using Latin names for two genus and species. This binomial two-name system is still used today. The first encyclopedia. In 1751, French philosopher and writer Denis Diderot published the first volume of his encyclopedia, or Dictionary of Science, Arts, and Crafts. The work aimed to cover everything, including the ideas of enlightenment and information about all trades. It took 20 years to complete his work. The importance of encyclopedia in our life. Here in encyclopedia, we can get a more reliable information than information we get from the internet, because information from encyclopedia, before it is being published, it is done through critiquing. Immanuel Kant, it is one of the known person during the Age of Enlightenment. Science is organized knowledge, wisdom is organized life. He believed that reason could not answer the problems of metaphysics, the branch of philosophy that deals with spiritual issues such as existence of gods, Ideas and feelings about religion, morality, and beauty were true, even true, though the reason of science could not explain them. The historical significance during the Enlightenment. The scientific revolution and the Enlightenment marked a turning point in the history of human thought. Scientists and thinkers constructed a new understanding of knowledge that stressed observation, experimentation, and reasoning rather than the reliance on faith and tradition. Thinkers analyzed the existing political system and focused on the rights of individuals. Their views challenged the concept of absolute monarchy and paved the way for the rise of democracy. The Age of Enlightenment continues to shape our lives. The United States Constitution incorporates many Enlightenment beliefs, and scientists employ approaches in research today that are based on the scientific method. The Age of Enlightenment free all people from darkness of ignorance and superstition. The English and American Revolution. By late 1600s, England would undergo two revolutions, limiting the power of the monarch. A new political age was dawning in England and throughout the world. Revolution in England. The pro-Catholic policies of King James II of England alienated his Protestant subjects, some of whom invited William III, Prince of Orange, married to James' daughter Mary, to invade England. James fled abroad, and Parliament offered the throne to William III and Mary II, who ruled as joint monarchs. The American Revolution. In 1776, the Declaration of Independence is signed on July 4, 1776. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. It is based on the statement of the Declaration of Independence. In 1783, Britain acknowledges that the United States to be a free, sovereign, and independent nation under the Treaty of Paris. The historical significance of the American and the English revolutions. The English and American revolutions helped to establish the rights of the citizens within a representative government. In England and later Great Britain, the monarchy steadily lost power, Parliament became supreme, and legal documents guaranteed certain individual rights. In the United States, the colonies established with a republic with a written constitution, a separation of powers, and elected president. The Bill of Rights spelled out the rights of individual citizens. The government could not violate. The American Revolution became the source of inspiration to people seeking freedom throughout the world, which in fact, the revolution is the inspiration of people from France, where years later the French Revolution began. The French Revolution, 1789. What are the causes of the French Revolution? The ideas of liberty, equality from the American Revolution. Enlightenment ideas of John Locke. Vast majority people were broke and hungry. Vast majority people were in the lowest state. Bourgeoisie. These are the part of the third estate. They were the middle class of France. They were bankers, merchants, factory owners, educated people. These people lead the French Revolution. The beginning of revolution. Although people were starving and country was broke, the royal family flaunted their wealth and uncaring. King Louis XVI, his grandfather King Louis XIV, was the ultimate absolutist king. This king was weak. He had so little control. He called for the French Congress to fix some problems. Effects of the French Revolution. Both king and queen were beheaded. French monarchy no more. In addition to the royal family, 17,000 people were executed with the guillotine. A driven, fearless soldier, Napoleon Bonaparte, came to power at the end of the French Revolution. He also introduced a system of law, the Code Napoleon, that gave poor people in France new rights. The Declaration of Rights. With the old order abolished, the deputies turned ensuring the equalities of all citizens before the law. Inspired by the American Declaration of Independence and Constitution, as well as the English Bill of Rights, the National Assembly composed the Declaration of Rights of Man and the Citizen in late August 1789. It is the French Constitution today. The Declaration of Rights, which incorporated ideas of Enlightenment, writers Locke, Montesquieu, and Rousseau, stated that all people are equal before the law. Historical significance of the French Revolution. The French Revolution, ideas of liberty and equality and fraternity continue to inspire people and around the world in parts of Africa, China, Middle East, Latin America, and in the Philippines. People of diverse backgrounds struggle for political freedom. Many of these struggles have been ignited by feelings of nationalism as people yearn for self-rule and return to their traditions. As Napoleon learned in the collapse of his empire, even the strictest military control cannot suppress the power of nationalism.